There we go. Right, as I said, I'm going to try and do a few slides first, just to set the scene. Hopefully not take too long. I know everyone's busy. We want to have this discussion really for me and Joanne and Adam. If you want to chip in as well at any point, do just shout up, to discuss the issues that we've got on the service desk and why we're asking for the help that we were asking for in the email that we sent yesterday. So what is happening? Well, the demand on the service has grown absolutely astronomically and without any sort of warning. And I'll come and show you some data in a minute, but the demand on the service has gone up absolutely crazy. It's also fair to say that that's not necessarily reflective of all of your queues, because the services deal with a lot of other contracts, such as pharmacies for password resets and NHS mail. Capacity tracker is a big contract that services have, so it doesn't necessarily reflect that if other teams haven't seen as big a rise, and I know some of you have, that it means the service desk isn't busy. The service desk have a lot of different contracts. There's an influence of lockdown 2, which I'll show you in a second in a graph. And we've also had some service desk staff leave recently, possibly, although not probably confirmed, because of the demands on that role. So just to back up kind of what I'm saying, this is the calls received over a 5-year period, and if you look towards the end, you can see a massive spike with lockdown 1. You can see a spike for lockdown 2, and the numbers this month, if they continue as they are now, so we've got the stats this morning, that number will go to 16,000 this month. That is what we're on target to do this month, which is absolutely phenomenal. And for context, the service desk is resourced to take around 9,000, 9 or 10,000. So it's absolutely way above what it's capable of taking at the moment. To reflect as well a little bit about why, we know about lockdown 2, but this is not some sort of mistake or something that we've missed. This is a gradual over time increase in the number of unique customers that we're selling services to. Evidence quite clearly. I mean, this graph overlays perfectly on the other one. This is the number of unique customers who've called us. So if a user calls us 5 times, it's counted as once in this graph. So it just gives us an idea of how many different people are ringing. So this isn't the same old people ringing with more issues. This isn't that IT's got worse. This is that IT has got bigger and that we've got more customers. And that's clearly reflective in that graph there. So why is it an issue? Well, it's a post service to the customers. We've got 30-minute wait times at the moment, and that is from 8 o'clock in the morning right through till 5 o'clock at night. The service has always been busy between like 9 and 11. It's now busy all day. There's no time for the services to deal with their own calls. So if they don't log and flog something straight away, it'll just sit in their queue. And that'll mean that the other teams are going to get that really, really late. You're probably starting to see that now. You'll see that more and more in the next few weeks. And also, it's really demoralizing. I think it's probably mentally one of the hardest jobs in the organization, taking the relentless amount of calls the services have to take. I think, a lot of the emails I got yesterday with people asking to be excused from doing this role are probably reflective in people actually knowing how hard this job is and how just tough it is. I think, if I say, Adam, I don't know if you want to come on and share a little bit briefly about what the service staff are kind of feeling.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real struggle. It's constant, non-stop call to call to call. And obviously, the other thing that's reflected is that the customers have quite often waited a period to get through. So by the time they get through to an analyst, they're not happy. And so they're venting that at service desk staff as well. So, I mean, service desk staff are taking 40 to 50 calls each a day at the moment. And historically, 20 to 30 was kind of normal. The staff are exhausted, and it's having that knock-on effect. We've got some sickness issues with people who were being impacted by that, and while people would normally have soldiered on, they're less inclined to at the moment because they kind of feel like they can't cope with another day of 40 to 50 calls throughout the day.
Thanks, Adam. Yeah, I think we all agree this is a tough job, being on on them phones every day. It is horrendous. So we need to almost do something to protect our staff. You know, the service desk is full of really, really good people, and at the moment we need to help them, in my view anyway. So one of the questions, well, what are we doing about it? You know, it's not sustainable to ask the whole of the department just to plug the gap. So myself, Rick and Joanne are going to meet Ian Davison on Monday to discuss a long-term strategy. Short term, I know Adam, you're interviewing today or tomorrow, I can't remember which, to recruit some agency staff. Joanne, I think, is also looking to see if she can find any pots of money anywhere that might be used to again bring some more short-term agency staff in, to allow us to plug the gap. We can turn an agency round in about 3 weeks, Adam, 2 or 3 weeks, I would say.
About that, yeah.
That's the quick solution to this, is agency staff, and so Adam's working on it and Joanne's working on getting some money to do that. So in a short term, that is how we intend to plug this gap. Longer term, I'll speak personally, but my hope is to increase the headcount to enable us to take the calls from the additional customers that are reflected in the slide below. But that isn't my decision. It's not even Joanne's, it's not Adam's, it's not Rick's. That's ultimately an exec decision because it'll be a revenue cost. But certainly that is, unless there's another bright idea that, you know, very open to, that would probably be my preference. You know, it's clear now that this is a demand issue driven from increasing customer base. Therefore, I don't think it's personally unreasonable, I'm not speaking for the organisation, that we get staff to reflect that increase and growth. So that's ultimately what we ask. Sorry, Joanne, are you coming in?
I was just going to say, yeah, it's probably worth noting that we've had some positive feedback already from exec around increasing the headcount. So as much as it's not our decision, we've already started the conversations and explained why we're going to be going to them and asking for them for some more staff and budget. And the feedback that we've had initially was positive.
Cheers, Joanne. So what we're asking, so we're asking for an initial 2 weeks for you to rota as groups of people on the service desk. We would ask you to go on what's called the backup line. So you only take calls if the service desk analysts are all busy. Obviously, at the moment, that is the case, but we're not asking you to be a primary services analyst. We're asking you to be a backup on there. So as I say, the services analyst will take the calls first, but I'm not going to be setting illusions about this. It is extremely busy. Being on this rota will mean you will take calls. And how I've kind of derived or thought about this rota is having the management teams. So that's myself included, and I also include Rick in there. I spoke to Rick last night, and he's absolutely up for joining this rota. So, you know, this isn't just we're asking everyone else to do something. The management team will jump in on this as well. And that's Adam, Carl, Graham, Simon, Jonathan. They've all said, yeah, we'll come in. And then we've asked for 2 top stroke asset engineers on a morning and one in the afternoon, and the same on remote. And I've also now put a rota live. It's in Teams. If I just quickly show you where that is. In Teams itself, there's an ICT rota page. I've put a service desk cover in here. If I allow this to load for a second, in here I've put the number of shifts per team that we're hoping that you'd be kind enough to volunteer or put yourself down for. You notice I put my own name down for my 2 shifts already. Happy to move them, by the way. I'm just demonstrating how you fill it in. So that is the ask. That's what we're asking people to go in. Obviously, first come, first served. It's open there now. It's available to everybody. So that is available for everyone as of now. I should say those people who've got occupational health reasons not to do that, where occupational health have given some advice, such as you're not able to take inbound phone calls, things like that. And I know there are occupational health reasons. That is fine. I know some of you yesterday, and I really appreciate it, came forward and said, look, occupational health said I can't do this, but I'm still up for helping. Could I do emails and self-service? Absolutely great, yeah. It's really good, that you're willing to help, even though obviously occupational health say at the moment you're not in the state to do so. So yeah, fantastic. Come and have a chat with us in that situation. I'm all for people being up for helping, even if there's a medical reason why they can't. Also had a few people saying, but our teams are busy. Why are we doing this? So we recognise that. We know that all teams are busy, and we're trying to spread this across the management, remote and desktop. So we're not trying to pick on one single team here. We're trying to spread this, and it reflects. Generally it's 2 shifts each over 2 weeks, 2 half days. So we're hopefully, spreading this reasonably thin. Every other job, I think it's fair to say, has its natural breaks in the working day, whether you're at a site and you have a quick bite to eat, whether you can ring a colleague or whatever, it's not relevant. Even if you've got 1,000 jobs coming in, it doesn't feel like it's coming over your head quite the same as it does when you've got a phone calls and boards lighting up. I think the mental side of this is quite different on the service desk, and that's why we're asking really. And we can always catch our backlogs up in terms of overtime. I think at the moment we've got enough scope in the budget, certainly with having some vacancies, that if other people want to do overtime to catch their own job up, if they speak to the line manager and there's some work you can do out of hours, run queue up to do this, I'd have no problems signing that off. But obviously just speak to your line manager to make sure there's some work that you can do out of hours. And that's kind of all I had really. We really need the help, but I wanted to give you a little bit more context in the email I sent. I know there was quite a few replies yesterday, basically along the lines of why, which is a absolutely rightful question to ask, and I hope that's maybe shown a little bit more as to the reasons why. So Joanna, Adam, do you have anything to add before we ask for questions?
No, not really. I was just going to ask. I was going to ask a question for myself. Really, is the rota in terms of are you anticipating asking people to fill that in themselves?
Initially, yeah, I was hoping for a first come first served. Obviously, we will fill this in if people don't.
Yeah.
For them, but certainly with myself, it was useful to look in my own diary and see when I was available.
Yeah. No, I don't have anything to add.
Cool. Any questions from the floor? Then don't forget to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I've got a question, Ian. It's for myself and Steve. We're not in every day.
Yeah, no.
Like today and tomorrow, there's only me.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, which is the reason I've done the road so that you can pick your days. I recognise totally what you mean. I think everyone's got different circumstances.
And we've encountered problems ourselves with Helix. We are still unable to navigate our way around it, and we're having to do double runs now to Dickens, etc., because we can't look on the screen to see what stock is at what site. Excuse me. Whereas in SupportWorks, I could look and say there was 10 printers at Newburn, so I don't need to go to Dickens to get printers for Newburn. I could say there was 7 or 8 at Unit 20, so they only need 2 or 3. There's 5 at Appleton, so I need 5, so I know how many to put in the van. Because we can't see that in Helix, we're having to rely on people saying, oh, we haven't got many printers. It's like yesterday we got another call from Gemma Dodsworth to take another 5 monitors to Newburn today, and Steve had only delivered the full stock of monitors on Tuesday, because we don't know what's there. So we have to go to Newburn, check what's there, because half the time there's nobody in Newburn, the engineers are all out. So we have to go to Newburn, check the stock, and then drive to Dickens, and then drive back to Newburn. So that's a whole day gone.
Okay, it sounds like there's some continuous improvement we can make there, Archie. So recognise your point.
I think there is. Once we know how to navigate our way around Helix a bit better, we might be able to sort something out in that respect. But at the moment, that's what we're able to do.
To bring us back to this, Archie, and I think I said in one of the times, we do recognise everybody's busy. We're certainly not sitting here saying people aren't busy. So
well, no, I'm not saying that other people are busy or not busy. What I'm saying is because of the introduction of Helix, this is what we have to do, because there is nothing in there to help to enable us to carry on the way we were. So
Archie, are you saying that what part of that is going to prevent you from sitting, taking calls on the service desk? That's what I'm not understanding.
Because if you move the calls on from the service desk, a lot of calls are falling into our queue in Asset. Mm-hmm. that have had no fault finding information in them, no attempted fix or anything. They're just dropping into our queue. We if we've got the stock, we're pushing it out. But if we haven't, we have to send it back because we don't know what's wrong, because there's no information in the calls. So Steve, I think since Monday, was sending calls back to the service desk or sending them to the service desk because the information that he said that was in the call wasn't enough for him to do anything. He doesn't know what to do. It's not his decision. It's not my decision. It's not Steve's decision. It's supposed to be at the point of fix at the service desk or at desktop or at custom liaison before it gets to us to allocate kit. And if we don't,
that sounds to me like there's something not. I was going to say that sounds to me like there's something not quite working with the process. That we'll probably need to look at. But
I'm not aware of any calls being passed back, but that is something we need to look at.
Yeah.
This is.
But I don't
really
understand why that would prevent.
Yeah.
I might be misunderstanding this, but I don't understand why that would prevent you working on the service desk a day a week or.
I guess what Archie's saying is he's got less availability than he would have because he's got issues where he's having to double work because he's having to do
double trips. I mean, for us, an average from Appleton House to Dickens or in Unit 20 is about 45 minutes if the traffic's clear. But if it's not, it's probably about an hour. But then you've got to spend an hour to an hour and a half at Dickens loading the van, and then you've got to tag everything.
Actually, I think we need to take some of this offline. Yeah. Sorry, I'm conscious of time here. We'll
look into that one specifically. Yeah.
Yeah. There is one other thing that I'm not comfortable with, and that's with doing a band 4 job when I'm band 3.
Okay, we'll take that one offline, Archie.
Adam, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, just a question. And I know the slides kind of point away from this with the numbers of calls, some unique customers coming through. I'm just wondering, we've gone into lockdown 2, why we haven't gone more along the way we did with lockdown 1 of having log and flog to a separate team just to get calls away from the service desk quickly. And I know we're having loads of checkpoint calls. They could perhaps have been logged and flogged quickly to a team waiting to receive them rather than everyone sitting. Well, not everyone sitting, but extra people taking calls, which might not bring the numbers down significantly.
Yeah. No.
So why haven't we done what we did in lockdown 1? Do you mean?
Yeah. Basically, but I mean, adding 3 people to taking calls probably won't make that much of a difference. But perhaps removing the calls on quickly might make more of a difference. I don't know.
Yeah, and Adam, to be honest, as I say, this is only for 2 weeks, and maybe we look at that in our options paper for Ian on Monday anyway. Obviously, that involved a lot of other teams in it, like fulfillment and customer liaison.
And that was at a time when a decision was taken across the organisation that everybody could stand down their normal day jobs to support COVID. That's not the situation anymore. So that those are the teams. The work that they had to stand down to do that work, to be part of that team, was approved by the organisation, and we're not in the same position.
We don't necessarily need other teams. I mean, if we had a team of 3 or 4 people from remote and a team of 3 or 4 people from desktop, that could probably cover a good lot of log and flog calls, I guess. But I mean, yeah, just. But
I guess the issue is the calls aren't even getting, even logging and flogging them. They're still not getting on top of the calls.
Yeah. I'm just thinking that adding 3 or 4 people to the calls that aren't used to taking calls is probably only going to take a couple out of the line and probably won't make a difference at all. But I mean, yeah, it's just a comment.
I mean, as it stands right now, there's 22 calls waiting in the queue for people to get through to the service desk. So for someone to take those calls, even just take minimum data set and flog them to another team, well, the longest one of them's been waiting nearly 12 minutes to get to speak to someone in the first instance.
And by the time they've sat and waited and then got their frustrations out, when they've eventually got through to somebody, that's just going to...
And all of the service desk staff are currently on a call or wrapping up in between calls at this point in time.
But I'm just thinking, though, that adding 5 people to that's only going to take it from 22 to 17 or whatever. I mean, that's not much.
Yes, it's not going to get rid of 22 calls. It's going to get rid of another 3. 5.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it's fair enough, but I just thought I'd comment.
No, and we need to review it, Adam, you're right, and we need to have a look on Tuesday, Wednesday, how it's working.
I mean, it's fair to say that we are, the reason we're at this point is because we're kind of struggling, we're really struggling, we're drowning as a service desk with the call volume that's inbound, and So we need to look at all ideas to see what we can do about it. I know you were on calls with me yesterday where we were looking at what was generating calls and seeing what we could do to take chunks of calls that were inbound away as much as possible. But that might be something that we review. We pick up as a separate work track as part as
Definitely.
when we
Adam,
review
yeah.
it. Yeah.
I mean, going to exec and asking them for more funding to bring more staff onto the service desk is one thing, but there's a million other things that we could look at to try and understand and, you know, push calls in different directions and take calls away from the desk. And I think when we do go to exec, that'll be something that we'll be asking for, is we need some resource right now, you know, to put some more bodies on the desk, but we also need some resource to do this bit of analysis work as well, because there's nobody, you know, just sitting there with some spare time thinking, oh, I'll do some analysis on why this is happening. We need to bring somebody, well, not necessarily bring somebody in, but we need to free somebody up to be able to do that.
What numbers are you hoping to raise the desk by then? If you're replacing the 3 that's gone, how many additional people are you looking to employ?
So there's a bit of analysis work, Simon, that needs to be done first to work that out. But if you just do it based on the way that we've staffed the desk now based on the numbers, I think where did we get to, Ian? Roughly,
Well,
it'll not be this number, but
you're looking at just around the 10 number.
10,
it won't
yeah.
be that number.
It won't
10.
be that number because there'll be other things that we'll need to take into consideration. That was just really rough and ready based on 2 figures. But when we do know, we'll let you know exactly how many we're going to exec to ask for.
So where have these unique customers come from over the last 2 years? Because it's been a steady rise since the beginning of 2018.
And again,
Where
that's
have they
another
come
piece of
from?
analysis that we need to do. So you can look back over the years and you can see, right, we took on Derbyshire, that was a big increase of customers. Then we've just took on North Yorkshire and York, and there's a big increase of customers. But there's also been a massive growth just within Nex as well. Nex has grew massively. So there's just more Nex users as well. And then we've got other things like the capacity tracker. There's just, you know, if you look back over time, you can pretty much pinpoint where increases have come from, where we've tried to address the increase by bringing staff in. So the big contracts that we've took on, like Derbyshire, North Yorkshire and York, we did bring additional staff, but there'll have been other ones that have been not big enough to kind of generate like a mobilisation programme, but gradually over time has impacted.
Like capacity tracker generates about 100, 150 calls a month for us, which isn't a full-time service desk analyst. So it gets absorbed.
Yeah.
But as soon as you've got
Well,
4 or 5 different capacity trackers
exactly.
together, and you end up with I need an extra person, and that money vanishes. You know, like capacity tracker had some money in the budget for service desk staff, but not enough for whole service desk staff. So it kind of like disappeared back into the project fund.
So do you expect the calls received to dramatically drop after COVID? Like, are you talking back below the 10,000 mark? Or?
I think one of the things that we need to understand before we know that is what's going to happen. Are people going to how's things going to change in terms of people's ongoing ways of working? Because if people continue to work at home as they currently are, which we know that'll not be the case, but we don't currently know how many people are going to end up back in the office. Because one of the other things I was talking to Ian about yesterday was, you know, when you're in the office and you have an issue, what's the first thing that you do before you ring the service desk? You ask a colleague. You say, oh, you know, does anybody know why this is doing this? Or does anyone know how to fix this? Or when you work from home, you haven't got that option. So your first point of call is the service desk. So we might see that when we come out of lockdown 2 and we get back to, you know, a normal kind of working arrangement, when we have got some people still working from home, but potentially some people back in the office, that the calls will drop. But until we know exactly how many people are going to be going back into the office, we won't be able to determine that. So
are bulk of these calls not a lot of like connection issues, VPN issues, that kind of stuff?
So
I don't think so, Ian.
I mean, this week there is a lot of that, but that doesn't necessarily reflect what this ongoing growth. And I think that's the point Ian's trying to make, is that while we can look at problem analysis for this week, and we can see that like Checkpoint VPN certificate issues is causing a massive headache this week, and is accounting for about 40 to 40% of the calls that we're taking this week. But once we've dealt with that and that goes away, the overall call volume is still 20 to 30% higher than it has been in previous months.
Yeah.
I think David's got his hand. He's had his hand up for a little while.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah, sorry about that. I've just and it's just a reflection, and I don't know the answers. I don't know if what goes on, but are we being clear with the customers that they know that we're under a high volume, and that if they're waiting for so long, it might be a good idea that maybe they go a different route through either the chat or email? And then secondly, what about when we know we've got major issues with the VPN this week, are we announcing that to people so that at least they know? And also on the third point, I get a lot of users in Derbyshire specifically, and people who've contacted me in the past now using Teams. So they call me direct, and that's quite a good thing in terms of I can turn around and say, some people have asked me about VPN already. I said, there are issues. Can you get in another way? They've gone away. They've said, yeah, I can get in and go another way. So I'm just saying, are we communicating with the actual customers all our issues, i.e. we're busy, can you come back later, or can you email us and we'll get back to you to try and alleviate some pressure? And two, when we do have a major issue, to some way announce it to them on the phone so that they know, because half the time you'll find that if people go, oh yeah, there's an issue, I'll come back half an hour later and get on and move on and do something else. We're actually helping them too, I think.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a good point, and I think it's something.
Sorry, Joanna. I was just going to say, during an MI, certainly we do use the phone system to announce stuff. We are working on some comms around the VPN issues. Issues is the wrong way, really. If the VPN's working as it's supposed to, it's just unfortunate that a lot of certificate issues are all happening at the same time, because it's the reflection of when we onboarded so many customers in one go during lockdown 1. Is the impact is that we're now in a that 6-month period where certificates are expiring from what they were originally set at, and that's the knock-on effect. But we have done some work around generating like an FAQ type comms of, if you've got a problem with your VPN, try this, then try this, then try this, then try this before you contact the service desk, and that's going to be going out. We're a little bit concerned that customers probably won't read it anyway, to be quite honest, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't try.
Yeah, and one of the things,
sorry,
I was going to say, David, just in response to one of your other questions around, are we letting them know how busy we are? I think one of the things that we need to do is pick up with the CCG digital leads around explaining they are aware already that we've seen a growth, and that there's some there's issues with meeting KPIs, etc. But I think we need to revisit that with the CCG digital leads and just explain and potentially send some comms out to GP practices to say, if it's not mega urgent and you can't can't get through, kind of hang up and ring back.
Yeah, agreed. And the other thing is, like I say, Teams is a new factor in all of this, and it's amazing how I can get in contact with people, or they can get in contact with me. And the thing is, once we've had that contact, they can contact again. And I'm finding I'm not deflecting, but I'm just literally communicating with people, saying, you do know there's issues with this, that, and the other, and if you're patient, just move on, get on with whatever you need to be doing, and try the alternative. So for instance, another issue is NHS Mail. We all know at the minute the refresh is doing its thing, and it's probably the biggest project that even Microsoft have even ever had to take on, is the whole of the NHS moving on to Office 365. So I'm just telling people, literally communicating with them however I can, like with Teams, and just saying, actually, yeah, it's horrible at the minute. We're going to move to Office 365 at some point, and can you use the online? And most of them hate moving on to online, but they'll use it just to get by. It's just a form of communicating. That's all.
Thanks, David. Is there any other
I can't see any more hands now. I think one of the things, Ian, is can we give a time frame for people to kind of proactively go into here and put their names against slots? And
Yeah,
then,
should we say the end of the day?
yeah, I think so. And then if we've got gaps and we can see where people haven't maybe put themselves against it, are we just putting people's names against it after that?
Yeah, should we say 4 o'clock tonight, and then it gives us
Mhm.
time, an hour to fill it in tonight before obviously some people need to do it beyond tomorrow morning. Yeah, that sounds reasonable.
And just to probably reiterate, it's not forever. It's for 2 weeks, you know, to help the desk out, and to give us time to do what we need to do with exec, because that just takes forever.
Cool. Oh, sorry, one other hand, Michael Drain.
Oh yeah, can I just ask a quick one? I don't mind volunteering myself to do tomorrow, but in terms of, obviously it just says AM. What time's preferred? Like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock?
Yeah, it's probably worth putting timings on there,
Yeah,
even
yeah.
around.
Just
Good
so we
point.
know. Because I know
Yeah,
some people like do like 10 till 6, 11 till 7. People all work different times.
Yeah.
Good shout. Yeah, good shout. I'll put that in a sec, Michael.
I know it's
I
busy
think
from it's busy from 8 o'clock anyway.
yeah, it's going to be 8
honest.
in the morning,
Yeah.
but it's when we split the day up. So I'll have to do a bit of
Mhm.
quick maths, but yeah, 8 o'clock will be the morning start.
Yeah. Right. Okay. No worries.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone.
Right, thanks for your time, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.
Cheers.
Cheers.